tonight at the NAMCYA for the event. We're looking forward to the showcase of the Filipino talent.
So we're here to support the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, and we're excited to see how they collaborate with young musicians today.
I think we're looking forward to experience watching events like these that allow us to appreciate classical music, especially in our country. And it's really nice to see how there are a lot of youth attending these events because it's a good way to promote interest in this kind of music.
For tonight's performance, I feel very nervous. Performing with PPO, may different kind of pressure. I'm also happy po na nandito ako sa Met ngayon to perform with them.
I am nervous and excited. I am blessed because it's a very rare opportunity and it's an honor to be with the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra.
I think it's rare for an orchestra to play any viola repertoire because there are not much viola soloists in the country. So I feel very lucky also and blessed to be chosen as one of the soloists in this event.
I always go to watch the concerts of the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, and to now be playing with them is very special, even more special because I will be playing with my father in the orchestra.
In the Philippines, it's very rare for young singers to be able to perform with an orchestra. Sobrang saya ko. And this is my first time to sing with an orchestra in a solo situation.
I'm very excited for tonight's performance because this would be the first time that I will be performing with an orchestra. So I can't wait to see the reaction of the audiences after the show.
I wish all the winners and concert artists tonight to enjoy the moment and to have fun on stage and own the stage. This is a remarkable moment for you guys, and you will bring this for the rest of your life. This is also the beginning of a new journey in your career as musicians. So I hope that you take advantage of all of that, and I wish you all the best.
Narito kami para suportahan ang aming Octavina player, si Abinder Pong. At proud kami na siya ay bahagi ng concert na ito.
Congratulations, Pao! I'm so happy that you have reached this milestone in your career. I'm so very happy.
Congrats, Ate Bea and Kuya Franz. We love you. Enjoy your college.
We're very fortunate that our sister actually reached the finals and have this concert, so it's a great experience.
Taika Benifayo, she's a close friend of mine, and I'm really proud of her. We worked on those pieces on the Chardas, so it was something special to me seeing it on stage with an orchestra.
I'm speechless. Of course, I expected them to be fantabulous. There is such a word.
How do you think the audience responded to the concert?
Well, right now, I can see that everybody's happy.
Dico The NAMCYA was first established by the late national artist for music, Lucrecia Casilag, in 1973. She envisioned it as the culmination of a year-long search for outstanding young Filipino musical artists from all over the Philippines. The categories, as well as the number of contestants every year since NAMCYA's inception, is testament to the great range of skill, of talent, of genre, and specializations that young Filipino music artists could express themselves in. Better yet, excel.
It has been our dedicated commitment to discover the gifted musical youth around the country, to train, to nurture, and to develop them to enrich the musical life and cultural life of the Philippines. The NAMCYA has fostered sensitive awareness of the beauty of Philippine music amongst our people. It has raised deeper appreciation for the diverse cultural heritage in our country, hence bringing a strong sense of national unity and love of country.
I hope we will all continue to join together in NAMCYA's multidimensional mission of contributing towards the enrichment of Filipino culture through music and young Filipino artists.
Isang pagpupugay at taus-pusong pagbati ang malugod kong pinaabot at ng NAMCYA sa lahat ng dumalo at nakiisa sa makasaysayang hapong ito. Taon-taon ay nagaganap ang ganitong uri ng pagtatanghal matapos ang mahabang panahon ng palisahan sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao at NCR. At ang nagwawagi ay magtatagisan ng talino at husay sa pagtugtog o pag-awit sa isang semifinals pagkatapos ay finals na ginanap na dito sa Metropolitan Theater. Nangyayari lamang ito, ang lahat ng ito dahil sa eksperto, mahusay at maayos na pagplano at pagpapatupad ng pamunuan at kawani ng NAMCYA.
I hope that this program continues to thrive in discovering and nurturing of our young talents in the musical arts, not only for the consumption of Filipinos, but also to play an important role in the international stage. Mabuhay tayong lahat at mabuhay ang musikang Pilipino.
how I felt when my name got called as a first prize winner. I felt really happy, and I'm blessed. I feel blessed.
Hindi po talaga ako makapaniwala because ang tagal ko na pong dream yun, and now that it's finally here, sobrang saya.
Well, for me, I think the most difficult part of preparing for this competition was definitely the slow practice. It took a lot for me to actually discipline myself. I think that was the most difficult part, the discipline.
I definitely think one of the most important things I've learned about myself from joining NAMCYA is that there's like always more room for you to improve. Every stage of NAMCYA that I've been in, I look back at my performances and I'm like, wow, I don't know how I'm gonna top this. And I end up doing better every time. And I think that's something that I'm really proud of myself for.
I do think that I wouldn't be here if I didn't have a support system like my family, my friends, but also my fellow competitors to help me raise my bar, raise my level.
In this journey, God has its own timeline. Last 2022, we didn't make it, but now, because of God's help and because of His purpose, then we made it to the final. So thank you, NAMCYA 2024. Above all, thank God for everything.
We're here tonight at the NAMCYA for the event. We're looking forward to the showcase of the Filipino talent.
So we're here to support the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra, and we're excited to see how they collaborate with young musicians today.
I think we're looking forward to experience watching events like these that allow us to appreciate classical music, especially in our country. And it's really nice to see how there are a lot of youth attending these events because it's a good way to promote interest in this kind of music.
For tonight's performance, of course, I feel very nervous. Performing with PPO, may different kind of pressure. I'm also happy po na nandito ako sa Met ngayon to perform with them.
I am nervous.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Clement Acevedo. I am the Artistic Director of NAMCYA, National Music Competitions for Young Artists. Welcome to today's event, Music Studies in the USA, Insights from Filipino Students. We're delighted to have all of you join us as we continue our mission of nurturing and celebrating the incredible talents of young Filipino musicians through NAMCYA. As we look ahead to the 2025 NAMCYA competitions, we're excited to present a diverse range of categories that highlight both individual artistry and ensemble excellence. This year, the categories include junior guitar, senior piano, senior voice A and senior voice B, senior strings, violin, and senior lower strings, woodwinds open category, children's solo rondalia, junior rondalia, children's choir, senior choir, symphonic band, and traditional music expressions. These categories reflect our commitment to further promoting high standards of excellence in Philippine music, ensuring that both traditional and contemporary music expressions continue to thrive. For today's program, NAMCYA seeks to engage and inspire young Filipino musicians by providing valuable insights into international music education opportunities. This online event will feature two outstanding Filipino students currently pursuing their music studies in the United States, offering firsthand perspectives on academic and professional growth. This event aims to provide aspiring musicians with practical guidance, motivation, and resources for studying overseas, including navigating applications, scholarships, and adapting to a new musical and cultural environment. We are going to be live on YouTube via Zoom. We invite everyone to share the link, which can be found in the chat box here. Before we begin, just a quick note that we're running a bit of a DIY setup today with minimal tech support, so we appreciate your patience if we encounter any minor glitches along the way. Thanks for your understanding, and we hope you enjoy the session. To start our program, it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Katrina Lorenzana. Katrina is a 19-year-old student at New York University pursuing a Bachelor of Music degree in music business. While her primary focus is on the music industry, she is also interested in the broader entertainment field, which has led her to minor in the business of entertainment, media, and technology. She enjoys playing classical and jazz piano and honing her skills in music production and digital marketing. With the goal of combining her love for music and business acumen, she aspires to pursue a career in artist management or entertainment marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Katrina Lorenzana.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sir Clement, for that introduction. So my name is Katrina, and I'm very excited to be here today to share a bit about some of my insights and experiences I've gained from studying abroad in the United States. Um, so I have a presentation that's okay. So in this presentation, I'll be talking first a bit about myself, my experience attending the Juilliard Summer Performing Arts program. And then I'll be going over the process of applying to NYU and talk a bit about my program. And then to end off, I'll be reflecting on my overall adjustment and my experience moving from the Philippines to New York. So I hope I can offer some valuable insights for anyone who is considering studying abroad. A little bit about me is I'm currently a freshman here at New York University pursuing a degree in Bachelor of Music and Music Business. I've been playing the piano since I was 4 years old, and throughout middle school and high school, I've also explored playing the violin, and I've also taken voice lessons. So a lot of my extracurricular activities growing up were centered around music. For example, I was part of my high school orchestra where we performed in school assemblies and school plays, and sometimes I sang in school assemblies, and I also completed the ABRSM piano exams. One of the standout experiences I've had with music was attending the Juilliard Performing Arts summer program, where I majored in piano performance. And this was a really big opportunity because I got to study abroad in the States for 2 weeks and completely immerse myself in an intensive music program, which I had never done before. So this program brought together students from vocal performance, piano performance, and drama, and we all had pretty packed schedules. It was about 8 hours a day spent practicing our pieces, learning, and rehearsing for the final concert at the end of the program, where we showcased everything that we'd worked on over the past 2 weeks. As a piano major, I had the chance to take private lessons with Juilliard professors, and I was also part of a chamber ensemble where I played in a piano trio with 2 of my other classmates. We also had group lessons where small groups of 4 to 5 piano students would perform to each other and receive feedback from our professor. And this allowed us to learn from each other. And I was even interviewed for their promotional video where they filmed a part of my group lesson, and I had the chance to talk more about the program there. So here's a clip of that now.
Sit on that note longer. Dee da, dee. Don't make it a 16th note rest. Make it a 13th note rest, meaning pad it. Yeah, just listen to the expansion of that tone.
I just wanted to be in a place, in a community, where I can share the same passion with other students, and I think this program really allows for that. As a piano major, we have practice times, group lessons, master classes, and studio classes. I have noticed a change in my playing. Initially, it was really nerve-wracking, the thought of performing in front of other people, but I've just grown accustomed to the whole environment, and I feel like I've grown more confident as a musician.
So it was a really cool experience working with Juilliard piano professors because I got to learn so much, not only about improving my own piano technique, but also tips for memorizing pieces, collaborating with other musicians, and overall just improving my performance skills. We also had studio classes where basically all the piano majors got together and performed in front of each other on stage to get the feeling of performing in front of a big audience and getting used to the piano. So this is a clip of the first time I played in studio class, and I was very nervous and I made a few mistakes, but it really pushed me to get out of my comfort zone, and it helped me learn to manage my nerves when performing. Beyond the music lessons, this program also gave me a glimpse into what it's like to study abroad. For my rooming situation, I stayed in a house with 5 other girls, which can be seen on the next slide, and we became really close during our time together. In fact, 2 of my roommates ended up attending NYU as well. One is in vocal performance, and the other one is studying film and TV at Tisch, which is the film school at NYU. And we're still very close today, so I was able to make a lot of long-lasting connections from this program. As for being an international student, I was initially nervous, but there were surprisingly many other international students, and I became close with a friend from India, and I even met someone from Kazakhstan. So as a Filipino student, I didn't really feel out of place because everyone was pretty eager to share and learn about each other's cultures and background. This Juilliard program really solidified my decision to pursue music in college, given how much I enjoyed it. And when I was deciding on where I wanted to go for college, the most important thing for me to consider was firstly what exact program I would be studying, of course. And what was equally important was the location of where I would study. So NYU was immediately my first choice, and it was pretty much the only college that I actually wanted to go to, mainly because it's located in New York and I've always dreamed of living in the city, but also because of the music business major. When I was researching about the school, I came across NYU Music Business, which was a program that I never even thought existed, and it's only offered in a few schools because of how niche it is. Though I've always loved performing the piano, I didn't want to make it my major because instead I wanted to explore how music could intersect with other fields, and the music business program seemed like the perfect fit for this. So once I was set on NYU, I really made sure that my application was really good to increase my chances of getting accepted. Throughout high school, I definitely made sure to keep my grades up. But what I ultimately think it all comes down to in the admissions process are your essays and your extracurricular activities. The essays are especially, I think, the best way for colleges to hear your voice and get a sense of who you are in order to determine whether you'd be a good fit for the campus. For my Common App essay, I wrote about a specific learning moment that I had during my time at Juilliard. And this was when my piano teacher shared a piece of advice to help combat my stage fright. And he told me to create a story in my mind about the piece that I was performing. The whole idea was to focus on feeling the music rather than getting caught up in the technicalities of the piece, which made me nervous when I was performing. And I explored this experience in my essay because it not only reflected my passion for music, but it also demonstrated my ability to reflect deeply about my experiences and my growth as a musician. For my activities that I included in my application, I made sure to highlight those that were directly related to music to prove that I was qualified and competent to study music at university. However, for US schools, it's very important to present a well-rounded application that highlights different aspects of yourself. I noticed that the US really likes individuals who are well-rounded because they look at the application very holistically. So I made sure to include other activities like being part of the Gawad Kalinga Service Club in my high school, as well as the Operation Smile Club, where I had leadership roles and contributed to making a positive impact at my school. After many months of waiting, NYU finally released their decisions and I ended up getting in. Of course, I was very happy and excited to fulfill my dream of living in New York. And now that I'm here, I've quickly become immersed in the busy life of college, including attending classes, trying out new clubs, making new friends, and learning to balance all of this while taking care of myself. I've really been enjoying the music business program because it's a very unique and career-focused major that equips students with the skills and networking opportunities needed to succeed in the music industry. Many graduates from this program go on to work at major record labels like Universal Music Group or Sony Recording Company, or they go into fields such as music publishing, concert management, and even entertainment law, which is something that I'm currently looking into. One thing that I noticed is the emphasis this program puts on networking. Being in New York offers so many chances to connect with industry professionals, and building relationships with people within this field is essential for securing internships and job opportunities. So I really had to force myself and push myself out of my comfort zone and learn how to be more social. And I even learned that networking doesn't have to take place in such a formal environment. For example, one of my favorite experiences was going to a rooftop party with other music business students, and I got to make a lot of new friends, and I met a lot of students within the program. And there were students DJing, singing, and dancing, and it was a really fun time. A lot of my classmates are very driven to succeed in their careers and make it in the big city. And their motivation is infectious, and I think it pushes all of us to work harder as well. Some of my friends are aspiring music producers and artists who create their own music on the side, while I know some other people who want to pursue careers in film scoring, where they compose music for TV and movies. So it's a very diverse and inspiring community where everyone is kind of carving out their own career path. Overall, it's been really fun studying here, but there were definitely a lot of bumps in the road during my time adjusting to living in the States. When I moved here last August, I was really nervous about starting a new life, especially since New York is a very big city and it was very overwhelming at first. I was really sad to leave my home back in Manila, where I had to leave my family, my house, my best friends from high school, and especially my dogs. And I remember the day my parents dropped me off at my dorm and left New York to go back home, and I felt very lonely. I was sad and scared, and all I wanted to do was go home with them. So the first few weeks of college were kind of tough, but when I talked to my other NYU friends here, I realized that this was kind of a common feeling. I think this is because NYU has an open campus structure, which means that the school buildings and the dorms are scattered across Lower Manhattan. So there's no central communal area, and it's not your typical college campus. This means that you're really thrown into the big city without much of a safety net or anyone to really like hold your hand. But even though it was very overwhelming at first, this period of adjustment is just something that every college student has to go through. Despite this time of homesickness, over time, I learned my main lesson, which was that nobody is coming to save you. And it's ultimately up to you to pick yourself back up. You have to put yourself out there and just focus on making the most of the opportunities around you. So to help myself adjust, I started joining clubs like the Filipino Club, and I made friends in a lot of my classes. What really helped me get out of my slump during the first semester was making sure that I stayed busy. I made sure to get out of my dorm for most of the day, whether it was hanging out with friends or attending club meetings or simply just exploring the city. New York has so much to offer, and exploring this place really helped me feel more at home. So even though the open campus structure was very nerve-wracking at first, it ultimately became very liberating, and it taught me how to embrace my own independence, and now I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like, I love the freedom of just being able to go on the subway and go to Central Park and the Upper West Side, which are the more quieter parts of New York, where I can find a break from the busyness of school and the city. So yeah, New York is known for being very fast-paced and busy, and I noticed that a lot of people here always seem to be in a rush, and they always seem to have somewhere to be. So while that energy can be very motivating and exciting, it gets to the point where sometimes it can also feel exhausting. And on top of this busy atmosphere, New York is also referred to as the lonely city. Even though there are so many people living here, it can still feel isolating at times. And I think this is because people here are so driven and focused on achieving their personal goals. There is a very individualistic mindset and culture, which makes it a bit more difficult to form a close-knit community that you might expect in smaller college towns. So it's very easy to feel lost in the crowd if you're not actively building your own support network. And this is why I'm really grateful for my friends from the Philippines who have also moved here to New York for college. One of them I went to high school with is also here at NYU, and my other friend goes to Barnard in Columbia. And they have really become like my family here. And even though I'm enjoying making new friends with new people from different places, there's just something different about being with people from back home who have known you for a long time, who share the same background, because it brings a sense of familiarity that no one else can really provide. Overall, my experience studying abroad so far has been filled with a lot of challenges, but more importantly, it has been filled with moments and lessons that have pushed me to step outside my comfort zone and grow stronger as a person. That's all I have today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Katrina. Thank you. That was really insightful, and especially regarding how United States, the schools in the U.S. tend to look at your holistic development as a student. What a wonderful presentation of your experiences in New York City as a music major. So we'll reserve our questions for you later during the open forum. And at this point, I would like to introduce our second speaker. Pianist Denzel Abarquez hails from the Philippines. He obtained his undergraduate music degree in piano performance at the University of Santo Tomas under the tutelage of Mr. Anthony Sai. He then pursued and obtained a master's degree in piano pedagogy in Western Illinois University under the tutelage of Dr. Natalie Dandowski. He is currently pursuing his doctorate degree in piano performance, pedagogy, and literature at James Madison University under the tutelage of Dr. Gabrielle Dobner. Denzel currently has a doctoral assistantship at JMU, allowing him to teach college class piano and accompany a variety of music students across the School of Music. He is also an active member of the Music Teachers National Association, JMU Collegiate Chapter. Denzel is a proud alumnus of the National Music Competitions for Young Artists having earned the third prize in the junior piano category in 2019 and third prize along with the Best Interpretation of Contest Piece Award in the senior piano category in 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Denzel Abarquez.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Sir Clem, thank you so much for inviting me to speak on behalf of Filipino community here in the US. This presentation is definitely going to be a grad school 101. The path to a DMA, medyo mahirap siyang ma-achieve. Pero if you have a very specific target goal and you know what you want to pursue, madali mo siya magagawa. There is going to be some challenges along the way, just like what Katrina mentioned. So my presentation is going to be the following. Next slide, please. So the first is to answer the why. Why should I be motivated to pursue graduate studies? And more importantly, why should I be motivated to pursue graduate studies abroad? Next, I wanted to figure out the how. I wanted to demystify the application process of applying from your university straight into applying to a visa application, which is one of my experience, the most nerve-wracking experience I've had to do as an applicant. Next is the what now. How do you anticipate, spending a lot of money to pursue your graduate studies, starting from, figuring out your flight tickets to figuring out how your housing is going to work when you arrive to the school. And then lastly, if we have some time, I wanted to talk about what's next, what to do once you've arrived in the university. What are some of the opportunities you can do inside and outside the campus grounds? So I'd like to start with the first question. Go ahead, go on the next slide. Why should I pursue graduate studies? So I want to start with my own story first. Graduate po ako sa UST noong 2019, 1 year before the pandemic. Nung time na yon, malaki yung motivation ng undergraduate piano professor ko, si Sir Anthony, na mag-ibang bansa ako. He told me that I had potential, na kaya kong gawin, na baka pag-pursue ng music somewhere else, na hindi sa bansa. And ang goal is makabalik ka at may provide mo yung information na nakuha mo sa ibang bansa pabalik sa Pilipinas. Now, very enthusiastic ako ng time na yun. However, as we all know, COVID happened. So, malaking delay yung nangyari sa application process. But in my case, it was a silver lining. I had 3 years to prepare and 3 tries to apply for graduate school abroad, and it worked for me. So for other students, maybe a reason to pursue graduate studies is to have some sort of specific learning. Maybe as a chorister, gusto mo matutunan paano mag-conduct in an Estel voice technique, or you wanted to know how to conduct theater instead of traditional classical choir. Maybe as a pianist, you wanted to diversify your repertoire and figure out what it means to perform as a collaborative pianist instead of a solo concert artist. And there's so much more you can do. Research is definitely going to be one of them. Next slide, please. Now, I know that the Philippines has a lot of degrees available, graduate degrees in music available. So this is the next question. Bakit kailangan ko pa mag-ibang bansa to pursue graduate studies? Well, for me, it was born out of necessity. I was no longer supported by my family as soon as I left undergraduate school, and I had to work hard as a private teacher, and I had to work harder in order for me to sustain living here in the United States. So ang maganda kasi sa graduate school sa Amerika, they provide you what they call an assistantship, which is a combination of full tuition scholarship and a stipend. So yung stipend is yung trabaho ko when I was pursuing graduate school. And of course, having this experience allowed me to see diverse cultures and different perspectives, see the world, kumbaga. And marami akong experience na nakuha because I left the country. Now, I don't know if I've convinced you yet. Go ahead, go to the next slide. But if I have convinced you, how do I start the graduate application process? Well, the first thing to figure out is to know what is important for you. Katrina mentioned this earlier that, knowing the program and knowing the location of the university is important. For me, there are 3 things. First is the program. Next is the professor, and lastly is the location. So some people, iba yung priorities nila. Maybe they want to live in a specific place, maybe they want to pursue a specific degree, or maybe they want to study with a specific professor na nakilala nila. So it really depends on you kung ano yung priorities mo on your pursuit of graduate studies. So under program, I wanted to mention three things. The program is very varied. Here in America, there's different degrees for you to pursue. Go ahead, click the next icon. So there's degrees in performance, which is very close to your conservatory type degree. There are opportunities in pedagogy, which is a bit more centered towards teaching, both in an individual setting and college class setting. And lastly, research. So research here is very paramount. It's a very important thing for graduate students to pursue kasi lahat kami kailangan naming mag-produce ng some sort of material na ipapublish. In my case, I was a master's in piano pedagogy graduate, so I had to write a thesis. Next is the professor. Knowing who you're going to study with and knowing that they're going to take care of you is one of the most important things when you pursue your degree. So go ahead, click the next icon. You have to know what their background or their specialty is. In my case, my current professor, si Dr. Dobner, ang specialty niya is Schubert lead. So I'm enjoying learning about German piano repertoire because he is a specialist in that field. My previous professor, Dr. Landowski, was a specialist on French Baroque repertoire. So tinuruan niya ako how to interpret ornaments and how to translate pieces from harpsichord I don't own to the piano, because some of them they don't translate well. And then lastly, what are some of the affiliations that your professor has? Who are they a member of? Have they visited the Philippines? I was very happy that one of my teacher's teacher, Lola na siya pedagogically, visited the Philippines and did a master class. And a lot of them are interested in seeing our talent sa Pilipinas kasi we definitely have a lot to offer. And based on my previous directors university when I did my master's, they really commend the Filipinos because we really work hard and we are very smart. We know how to pick up ourselves and we know how to center ourselves when you have a goal at hand. Lastly, location. So Katrina is living in the state of New York. New York City is one of the most busiest and one of also the most expensive cities to live in America. The United States has about 50 states and there are so many places for you to see. In my case, I went to the country, probinsya, kumbaga. Go ahead, press the next icon because I went to the provinces or the countryside of the United States because it was a lot cheaper. The cost of living in smaller, more remote cities allowed me to save a lot more money. And of course, financial is the most important thing. I needed to save up before this trip. So when you figure out what your school is, also consider kung nasan siya. If it's a big city, it's probably going to be expensive. But it's going to be more accessible. It's easier to travel from one place to the other. If it's a smaller town, you will have a lot more space for yourself. When I was in Macomb, Illinois, it was bukid. I was studying in cornfields, and it really allowed me to focus on my degree because there was no distractions. Next is talking about what the assistantship is. Go ahead, press the next slide. So an assistantship is different from the scholarship in the sense that an assistantship is an extra level higher. So an assistantship is a combination of two things. First is the scholarship. So the scholarship comes with a specific tuition waiver from your university. So the university, in my case, would offer a full tuition waiver. Ibig sabihin po nun, wala akong babayaran for the entire stay of my graduate school. I will only have to pay miscellaneous fees. And the other half of the assistantship is stipend. So when you arrive as a student in the United States, you are arriving as a non-immigrant student. That means hindi ka pwede magtrabaho outside the university illegally. And that also means that the university will have to call what your job is within the university as stipend. So it's a student salary na nare-receive ko every month during the semesters. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Now, this is an example of what an assistantship offering is. So an assistantship basically is an extra level of responsibility on top of your graduate school credit. So for example, if you look at the bottom line, choral conducting, the duties of a master's in choral conducting assistant is to assist in rehearsals, to assist research, to do database management, to schedule tours. So these are all part of your job that is on top of your graduate school classes. So I remember when I was in my previous school, I had about 9 hours of classes every week, so mga 3 subjects lang, and I had about 13 to 20 hours of my assistantship, and my assistantship was piano accompanying. So when you look for schools, make sure that the school has an active assistantship application that's open and that there is a point person. In this case, for choral conducting, it's Dr. Brian Winnie, and I know him personally. I also wanted to say that right now, the Western Illinois University, my previous institution, is currently seeking a master's in choral conducting student sa Illinois. So if you're ever interested in applying, let me know. Let's move on to the next slide. So what does the application process look like? Basically, this is a big conundrum and it takes a long time to accomplish it kasi napakadaming processes na kailangan mong pagdaanan, no? So let's move on to the next slide. I'll present the 3 processes. So application process are divided between 2 things. First are the university requirements. So these are general requirements required of you by the university or by the School of Graduate Studies. And then the other half is the School of Music requirements. These are requirements that are specific in the field that you're pursuing. In my case, I was pursuing a degree in piano pedagogy at the time. So university requirements are as follows. You start with your basic information, followed by your academic transcript. Now, I put an asterisk on transcript because the grade system in America is different sa Pilipinas. Sa UST, when I graduated, ang pinakamataas ay 1, ang pinakamababa ay 3, bagsak ang 4. Sa US, they use a letter grade system. So A, A minus, B plus, etc. That means that when you request your transcript of records from your university, kailangan mo siyang idaan sa evaluation service. So go ahead, click the next icon. The evaluation service will then convert your grades into the letter grade system, and they will be the ones to forward your information to the university as part of your application. So the evaluation service, I will provide a link at the end of my presentation. Next is a personal statement. So Katrina mentioned this earlier. It was very important for you to present yourself as a holistic student. And the personal statement is one of the best ways for you to introduce yourself in written form. So as a graduate student, I needed to figure out first what my university's mission statement was and how I can fit in that statement. So some universities would ask, diversity, equity, and inclusion is their main priority. Some universities would require academic excellence as paramount, pursuing a degree. So I urge you, if you have a university in mind, to read what their mission and vision statement is. Because part of the things that they see in the statement is how you, a potential student of the university, will be able to fit in their program. Next is financial statements. So you have to make sure that during this application process, you seek sponsors who will be able to provide bank statements and affidavits of support. So itong mga documents nito are very important kasi the university might assume, okay, that your assistantship might be revoked halfway through. Dito sa JMU, ang assistantship namin will only be offered for the first 3 years of study. Pag nag-extend kami, we have to pay out of pocket. So the university is holding out this sort of guarantee na you can pay out of pocket if that happens. Right? Next is a proficiency test. Katrina and I speak English very well, as do everyone in the Philippines, and we're always surprised when people tell us na ang ganda-ganda ng English natin. And it's given us a lot of advantages when we moved here to US because it's easier to talk, we are more confident, but then some universities will still require you to take what they call TOEFL, which is an English proficiency test. So if they're asking you for that, send an email to international admissions and ask if the requirements can be waived, or if you can provide something else. Maybe you've taken English courses undergrad when you wanted to see now you've finished all the basic English courses as a college student. Okay, so the next requirement, next slide, is the School of Music requirements. So these are very specific to the school that you're applying for. First, the requirement, and one of the most tedious ones for me, is compiling a repertoire list. So basically, I had to write down all of the pieces I have studied since the beginning of my undergraduate degree. So nilista ko lahat from Bach to Chopin to Debussy and even Filipino pieces. It's important for them to see what repertoire you have been working with, because they will know what your strengths are as a pianist or as a musician, and they would also be curious as to what kind of diverse repertoire that you've already learned in the past. Right? Some schools might ask for a separate repertoire list for solo and a separate repertoire list for collaborative pieces. Next are audition videos. There's an asterisk there because there are plenty of ways you can audition in a school of music. The first and the most ideal thing, press the next icon, is to do your auditions live. That means lilipad ka sa US, magpe-perform ka sa harap nila. That's usually the strongest way for you to audition because they get to see you, they get to interview you, and everything is instantaneous. However, knowing na malayo tayo sa US, and in my case at the time, I could not afford flying back and forth to the school that I was applying for, so the school offered me to do an online audition instead. So online auditions have different versions. You can record yourself and upload it on YouTube. You can do a Zoom online audition, or a lot of the universities here in America use the website called Accepted. So Accepted is a dedicated third-party website on anything that is music related, whether it's music festival, conservatories, schools of music, and whatnot. So again, I'll provide a link for Accepted at the end of the presentation. Next is curriculum vitae. So this is a more comprehensive list of your experiences. Part of your personal information is, of course, showing them what your educational background was, and ka graduate, nagsulat ka ba ng thesis, and who was your teacher. Also mention to them your performance background, saan ka nag-perform, sino kasama mo mag-perform, and then also include any and all contributions you've made to the field, whether it's winning awards, winning a scholarship, or attending festivals. So all of them, they would love to see that. And at the end of the curriculum vitae is your list of references. So the recommendation letters are like sponsors, but they will not sponsor you financially. These are point persons who are in your field who will advocate for you. In my case, I actually sought Dr. Clem. I asked him to write a recommendation letter for me when I applied for graduate school, because I know that he knows my work ethic and we've worked closely together. So make sure that when you're writing or seeking a sponsor or a reference for your recommendation letter, to seek your professors in your undergrad, seek professors who will advocate for you, and seek professors who can write about the work ethic that you have and the talent that you have. Okay, next slide po. So this entire process took about 3 months. The application process opens about September 1st, and international students' deadline is usually December 1st. Some universities might require you to apply early. Some universities can waive the deadline. So again, it depends on how you talk to the admissions officer and to the professor you want to study. Because again, if your professor likes you, likes your application, and likes your personality, they're going to advocate for you during the application process. So now let's assume now you've already been accepted. Tanggap ka na sa school. What do I do next? Go ahead and press twice for me. So the next thing for you to do, next slide, is to seek the assistantship offer. So the assistantship offer is different from an acceptance letter in the same way that the application for the university is different from the application of the School of Music. So yung acceptance letter, usually galing siya sa graduate school or galing siya sa university where you applied, and it's just a general acceptance letter, and it doesn't mention anything about scholarship or anything about stipend. The assistantship offer does. So kapag naka-receive ka ng assistantship offer, this is basically a good one-way ticket for everything. Kasi number one, they will pay for your studies. You will get your tuition waived, and they will also provide you your work when you get to the university that you're studying. In my case, I was a self-sustaining adult, and when I left for the US, I really had to use up my savings and I had to wait for the first month before my stipend arrived. So it was very important na meron akong assistantship pagdating dun sa school kung saan ako mag-aaral. Next, the assistantship offer or the university will now convert this offer once you've accepted it into what we call the I-20. And the I-20 is a very important document for your visa application. Go ahead, click the next icon. So the visa application consists of a consult interview, and in that interview, you have to compile, again, another set of information from your basic information that is written in your DS-160. I will mention that later, followed by a scheduling of your consult interview. So that's one of the most nervous moments you have as an applicant. Because for me, I didn't know what the questions were and I didn't know what they were gonna say, or I didn't even know kung paano sila mag-respond, kung basta-basta na lang ba nila ako i-accept or reject. So it was really, there was a lot of risk going there. So make sure that when you're attending this interview and once you've scheduled it, meron kang important documentation. Kasama na doon yung I-20 from your university, financial statements from you and your sponsors, and then letters of acceptance and any supporting information that you might have that they would want to see. Next is the financial preparation. So pagdating mo sa US, of course, wala pa tayong stipend, kailangan natin magbaon ng pera. So how much do I have to bring? How much do I have to prepare? In my case, I prepared about a month of living expenses kasi pagdating ko sa Illinois, I had to pay for the miscellaneous fees for my university, I had to pay for health insurance, I had to pay for my first month of rent plus the deposit, and then of course, marami pang ibang expenses such as food, you know. So make sure that you have enough money stored, and if you have questions about that, I would love to answer it in the forum later. Next slide, please. So this is an example of an assistantship letter offer. So this is what I received back in 2022 when Western Illinois offered me an assistantship. So the following things must be seen in this letter. First, a full tuition waiver. Click the next icon. The tuition waiver may or may not include your miscellaneous university fees, but in this case, it was important for me because in my previous university, a semester costed about $5,000 to $6,000 if I did not pay, if I did pay by myself. So the tuition waiver is really helpful. Next is your monthly stipend. This includes your student salary for the academic year, and this can be offered either a month for the entire semester, or in other cases, they offer it for your entire graduate student journey. So make sure that it's sustainable. Next is the nature of your work. In the second paragraph, go ahead, click the next icon. So the first box is the number of hours I had to work as a pianist. So I was accompanying singers, I was accompanying instrumentalists, I was assigned to the opera theater guild in my university, and that's part of my job. It's not part, however, of the classes I had to take as a graduate student. So it's mentioned on the next box there, I had 9 credit hours. So that's about 3 to 4 classes. One of those is going to be a lecture class. The other one is applied, so yun yung lesson with your teacher. The next one is elective, which is an optional class. And then if you are a string player or a percussionist or a chorister, ensemble is the last class. Lastly, and one of the most important things in the letter, go ahead, press the next icon, is to know the deadline. So the deadline of your application is very important because once this deadline supersedes, they're going to offer this letter to somebody else. So make sure you wait for the right amount of time to see all of your offers, to compare how much your stipend is, to compare what the nature of the job is, but know that the deadline is set. It's usually April 15 for all schools. All right? Okay. Next slide, please. So now let's move on to the nitty-gritty of applying for a student visa. So the DS-160, the first document that I mentioned earlier, is a non-immigrant student visa. So this is the first step to getting your F1 student visa. Similar to your university application, you have to fill out your basic information, your address, your contact information, and you have to provide financial information as well. So this comes as the form of affidavits of support from your sponsors and bank statements as well. Then you have to schedule your consult interview. In my experience, I received my information from my university about February. As soon as February 15 hit, I already started looking for dates, and I was able to get a date in April. So yung opening for consul interviews is about a month or two. So make sure that once you receive the document, you already are scheduling your interview. Next is the I-20. So the I-20 is an important document that your university is going to hand over to you electronically or by mail because it combines everything that you need as a student. Contains your information, contains the information of the university, and contains financial information. How does the university or how will the university pay for your studies? And are they giving you a stipend and whatnot? So very important information siya kasi it's part of the financial information that you have to provide during your interview. Now, once you've attended the interview and you've provided all the necessary documentation, the last step is receiving your F1. So during that interview, the consul will stamp and say that you have been approved. They will take your passport. And in my case, I got my F1 visa in about 3 to 5 business days. So in my passport, there's an extra page where the US visa is placed as a sticker, and that's basically is my ticket to flying to the US. Make sure that when you have your passport with the US visa in it, that you still include a copy of your I-20. Because when immigration comes in, that's one of the things that they're going to look at. They're going to ask you in the same way that your consul asked you. What are you doing in the US? What are you studying? How long are you going to be there for? Who are your sponsors? And how are you sustaining yourself there? These are some of the sample questions that they have. Next slide. This is an example of an I-20. So the I-20 in the very top paragraph is your information. The second information is the school in which they will offer this amount of dates for you to study for and this amount of credit hours. The financials are written in the bottom. And for you to claim this, you have to make sure that you file it through SEVIS, which is yung Student Exchange Services. So basically, this is their version of a student passport. So you have to pay this US website for you to claim the I-20 from your university. Again, the link to see this is going to be available at the end of my presentation. Next slide, please. So from acceptance, now we move on to acclimation. How do you get to the US and what are some of the most important things that you need to do prior to arriving there? First is traveling. When you've planned your itinerary, you have to know in advance that you're going to be traveling for at least 20 hours. I'm not a big fan of long flights. Medyo nakakapagod siya. Pero kailangan tignan mo kung ano yung mga flight offers na available either through Philippine Airlines or international airlines. For this itinerary, I do recommend na you reach out to your professors or to the international admissions kasi they can offer you the best advice on how to get to the university. I was lucky kasi when I flew to my first university, the director of the School of Music personally picked me up from the airport. So I was lucky na hindi ko na kailangan mag-bother with traveling by train or traveling by bus, but sometimes you might have to. So make sure you plan that ahead. Next is housing. There are different ways for you to stay in a town. Right now, I'm staying in an off-campus housing in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Some universities offer in-campus housing and includes things like meal plans and discounts. So figure out what is the more practical and suitable for you. I will definitely recommend, though, that you find a roommate because your roommate is going to be the person for you to share not just your burdens in studies, but also your burdens financially. So in my case, I was able to reach out to one of the auditionees during my DMA auditions and making roommates kind of immediately after we got accepted. So finding the roommate is as easy as reaching out to professors, reaching out to international admissions and seeing who is coming, knowing where they're coming from, and sometimes you might even be lucky na meron din applicant na galing sa Pilipinas. Next is expenses. So I'll say this again, I had to save at least a month of living expenses when I arrived in America. That's about 2,000 to 3,000 US dollars. I don't know kung ano yung conversion rates of Pilipinas ngayon, but I want to say it's around 120 to 160,000 pesos. And that amount was baon for 1 month of paying your rent, 1 month of expenses, 1 month of tuition, miscellaneous fees, and other things. So Katrina is very lucky to be in New York. There's a lot of Filipinos in New York. In Harrisonburg, there is a lot less. So Filipino ingredients is one of the most important things that I still had to figure out where to get. So if you are a foodie and if you like to cook and if you like our cuisine, definitely figure out where to get our ingredients. Right now, I'm still trying to figure out where to get calamansi. Let's move on to the next slide. All right. So this is part of my conclusion, basically a timeline of how or and when to apply for graduate school. Go ahead and click the next icon. Right now is March, and we are early in the application process. So you have plenty of time if you're interested in applying to graduate school to seek out schools, seek out professors, seek out cities. It's as easy as typing the city of New York, space university, or city of Virginia, or sorry, state of Virginia university. So look at any and all universities that are out there. Sometimes there are visiting professors sa Pilipinas, and if there's an opportunity for you to watch their masterclass and talk to them, ask them where their university is and ask if they have some sort of connection and if an assistantship offering is open. So as early as June, reach out and figure out which schools are in your laundry list. In my case, I think I had about 10 schools, and then medyo nabawasan siya to about 5 or 6 when I started my application process in September. So in September 1st, application process is open. So at that point, make sure that you have everything furnished. You have your CV, you have written your personal statement, you have your sponsors who are going to back you up, and you have your recommenders. You have people who are going to vouch for you and your talent. I was very lucky during my application process because NAMCYA's calendar was within those months. So I used my NAMCYA recordings during my 2021 competition as my application videos. So it's really a testament to what NAMCYA has done for me. It really has prepared me for graduate school because the competition is everywhere. And if you thrive in a competition, you really do well in the world. Next is the waiting game. You have 3 months to wait, and during those months, you can start earning, start looking for ways to fundraise yourself. In my case, I had 2 concerts, fundraising concerts. I sold 2 pianos. And then I also reached out to potential sponsors in and out of the country. I was also lucky that my mom knew friends in the US who was able to help me acclimate and help me transition to the US. So make sure that you have all of those things, travel and housing figured out. And then of course, fall semester starts in August. So a lot of goodbyes, definitely a lot of eating Filipino food. I still miss it every day. But there's definitely a lot to look out for. Now I'm going to go to my last slide, and the last slide is basically the first slide. Why pursue graduate studies? To me, it would be unfair to mention the sacrifice that I had to make before pursuing graduate studies. I had to leave my family, I had to leave my friends, I had to leave my piano students and my fellow musicians who I loved performing with. Pursuing grad school abroad meant that I really had to start over, back to zero talaga. But it comes with rewards. Go ahead and click them one by one for me. First, I got to be a college instructor. Now I teach college class piano to music students, music minors. I get to collaborate with singers and instrumentalists of different, very diverse backgrounds. And I get to learn these new repertoire that I've never heard of. I get to hone my skills as a pianist in a very holistic way, from teaching children abroad to making friends that transcend language, race, and distance. Lastly, I get to marvel in my own struggles and successes in pursuing graduate studies, because all of this lead to becoming a doctor of music. That's my goal. Maraming salamat po sa pakikinig. Thank you so much, NAMCYA. Thank you so much, Sir Clem. Mabuhay ang musikang Pilipino. Here are the links below.
Wow, thank you, Denzel. We will make sure to share the links for those who are interested. Very informative and quite comprehensive. Wow. I wish I had watched your presentation back in 2007 when I applied to schools. So I think that with this being on YouTube now, I think it's going to help a lot to, as you said earlier in our planning, to demystify actually applying to graduate schools. All right. So at this point, and I hope you have questions. Let's do a little bit of open forum for both Denzel and Kat. So please, when you ask a question, you please introduce yourself. My name is so and so, and this question is for either you say Katrina or Denzel, and then you go ahead and ask your question. And you may also type your question if you're a little shy, and that's okay. We can check the chat box for some questions. All right, so maybe I should start. And this question is for you, Kat. Do you cook in New York? I'm just curious.
I don't have a kitchen in my dorm, so I completely rely on the dining halls and eating
Ah,
out.
yes. So
But one of my friends has an apartment and she obviously has a kitchen, so like every week I go to her house and cook as much as possible.
yeah. And do you also travel like around the city or outside of New York City, like by train, etc.?
To get around the city, I mainly take the subway because it's the cheapest and the easiest form of transportation. Um, the only time I've gone out of the city was to visit my friend in Philadelphia, and we also took a trip to New Haven, Connecticut, and we did that by bus. And it was like 4 hours away.
Yeah, I lived in Philly for about 5 years. So it's I know it looks like a probinsya compared to New York. Um but the other day I was just missing Philly pretzels actually. So also I was gonna ask I mean you mentioned kasi earlier that people in New York seem to be always on the go and always so focused on their goals. Um, so do you find that people walk faster in New York?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've also improved my speed walking skills.
Yeah,
And I feel like sometimes when you don't walk as fast, people get annoyed and they try
you
to
get on
swerve.
that.
So you really
Yeah,
have to know where you're going and you have to know your way around the city.
yeah. Okay. Um, a question for you, Denzel. We're still waiting for questions, so please, while everyone is brewing their on their questions, so how do you find Harrisonburg so far? Just an information for everyone. I also went to JMU, so that's why Denzel and I are close, and we planned this also together. How do you find Harrisonburg? I mean, it's a fun city, right?
Para siyang Batangas. Para akong nasa Tagaytay. Ang nawawala lang is Taal. But
Ah,
I love the landscape of the Shenandoah Valley. It's the weather in Virginia. I lived in Illinois for 2 years, and Illinois weather is very dry. It's cold. It's windy. Virginia is a lot more humid and a lot more temperate. Actually, a few days ago, umuulan dito, parang bagyo. So it really reminded me of home in a lot of ways. Traveling though is a bit difficult because Harrisonburg is considered as a college town. That means traveling from a small town like Harrisonburg to a big city takes a while. For us, the closest big city is Washington D.C., and it takes about 2 hours and a half to drive, or 4 hours by bus.
hmm, yeah. Okay, well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a question here in our chat box. Is there a sizable community of Filipino musicians in the US to find support with? And this is for either of you. So I guess we can talk about Filipino community that you encounter, and also if what kind of support they offer once you're there. Would you like to start, Kat?
Yeah, I'd say the Filipino community in New York especially is very big. Like a lot, I know I have a lot of family friends who have attended college here or who currently work here. And in NYU itself, the population of Filipino students is a lot. In the Filipino club, I think the first meeting there was like 50 students. Um, and it's really nice being able to, talk about like Filipino culture with other people, with the other Filipinos in school, because sometimes it gets kind of overwhelming having to meet a lot of new people, like Americans and people from all walks of life. So it really does provide good support and it makes you feel at home in this big city.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. Denzel?
There is a huge Filipino community in the pockets of cities in America. I was close enough to Chicago to feel it. Close enough now when I travel to Chicago for about 4 hours by train, we go see Jollibee and we see Filipinos every day. In my previous university, we did not have a Filipino American Association, but in my current university, we do. And I'm a current member of the Filipino American Association at JMU. These are first generation, second generations Filipino students who have their parents, had their parents migrate in America, and it's very interesting to hear their stories. I'm also a member of the Filipino American Association of Shenandoah Valley. And the Shenandoah Valley is a huge area. So we have a lot of Filipinos from different walks of life. We have Filipinos who are working in the medical sector, Filipinos who are teachers, Filipinos who are musicians. Like me here at JMU, we have quite a good number of musicians from the Philippines. So it's really been a welcoming experience to play your own music, your own country's music, and to know that some people in the audience know what that music is, know what the kundiman is. And of course, one of the next steps I wanted to take while I'm here in JMU is to actually bring our music onto the international stage. I have my doctoral recital coming up soon, and I have some Filipino pieces piled up to perform, and I'm doing my doctoral dissertation on a Filipino composer as well.
All right, wonderful answers from both of you. Thank you. Hello, Denzel. For example, I'm in a different field. I'm a nurse by profession, and would love to study in an art and music field. And do you have any advice how to transition?
Yeah, this is a wonderful question. Thank you po, Ma'am Trishelle, for posting this. There are a lots of opportunities for you to transition from a medical field to a music field. But one of the most important things to check yourself with are the audition requirements. So if you're trying to transition into a music school, for example, like JMU still follows the conservatory standpoint. So magre-request sila ng classical pieces for you to play on an instrument or for you to sing. So take a look at the audition requirements and see if you can do them. Some schools offer graduate studies with an opportunity to perform in a communal setting. For example, I have friends who are non-music majors but are members of the Madison Singers or members of the JMU Chorale. So they are able to still experience a life of music even though that their current field is not specifically the School of Music itself.
Thank you. All right. And a comment from Anthony Lopez. Thank you for your answers. I'm moving to the US soon. Finding companionship with fellow Filipinos is one of my biggest concerns for the adjustment process. Yeah, it's a legitimate concern. Actually, in my own experience, hindi ako masyado naghanap ng ano. And looking back, I wish I did. I think I could have gotten more support, especially moral support, while studying abroad. Good. Do you have any questions from the audience in Zoom?
Just want to say hi and support Denzel from Western Illinois.
I know that voice. Hi, Christian.
Oh, my
Hello,
friends are
thank you
saying
so
hello.
much for supporting.
It's three of us, Nicolo and Evan. We are just here. We joined to support our friend Denzel. And also, hi to Sir Clement.
Oh, hello. Christian Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I think every year I send a recommendation letter to Western Illinois University at this point. So so anyone who would like to get to know me and perhaps engage with me, maybe I can write a recommendation letter after that engagement.
We are really grateful for all the recommendation that you have made for us, Sir
Of course,
Clement.
it's my duty.
Thank you.
Maybe you're curious about other details of regarding ayan ito. For Denzel, a bit of an unusual question, but are there opportunities for classical slash jazz musicians to collaborate with ensembles specializing in traditional Philippine music like rondalia, kulintang, etc.?
Excellent question, Sir Anthony. I've done a bit of research and I found that there are so many Filipino American researchers in the field of music dito sa America. For example, in University of Michigan, we have Christy Ann Castro, who is a musicologist, a specialist on different kinds of music. Basically, she wrote an entire history of Philippine music, and I'm still reading her books to this day. There is Sir Anthony Padilla from Minnesota and Sir Horacio Nugent from Minnesota as well. Padilla is a specialist on Filipino and Hawaiian music. So what he's done is to provide some sort of foray on how to change some things in the piano. We call this the prepared piano technique, where basically he would alter the pitches to make it sound like a kulintang. Now, if you're looking for specific ensembles, such as the traditional rondalia or kulintang, usually they exist on the pockets of cities that have the most Filipinos. For example, 4 hours away from my city is Virginia Beach, and Virginia Beach has Harana, which is their annual Filipino-American music event, and they do have a rondalia, a folk dance troupe. I'm not sure about Kulintang, but the closest information I can provide you about Kulintang is that Northern Illinois University has a gamelan, Indonesian gamelan ensemble, which is kind of our sister instrument. So these opportunities would definitely come if you choose the right university. So if diversity or bringing your own music or bringing your own instrument, however different it might be, is one of the things you wanted to do in your university, make sure that they will entertain and have opportunities for you to do so.
All right, thank you, Denzel. Actually, I'm curious, Katrina, if you have any plans of pursuing graduate school after, or how do you see the trajectory of your career being in music business? And you mentioned copyright law or something, which is a very good uh, goal.
So what I'm trying to do now is just kind of explore every single internship and job opportunity that this course has to offer, so that I'm not completely restricted on one career path. But I am interested in entertainment law. There's a class offered in NYU that covers specifically copywriting and like what goes on behind deal making, and I think that would be very interesting to learn about.
Yeah, kasi dito sa Pilipinas, we still need to learn a lot about the copyright law and such. Great. Well, that's great. Wonderful. And you play
Can I
wonderful.
add something?
Yes, Denzel.
Yes. Sorry. In the field of research, one of the biggest hurdles that I have for now is getting manuscripts. So it's very close to copywriting in the sense that specific manuscripts from composers are locked away in archives in libraries back home. Dito sa America, when you have a specific information that you need, you can email the Library of Congress and they can give you a picture or a snapshot of that manuscript most of the time for free. So it's definitely still something that I would like to be involved with my country because I wanted to pursue music research and specifically unearth a lot of Filipino pieces. So learning about copyright is one of the things I need to do as well.
Yeah. I even in NAMCYA, we deal with copyright quite often. People asking to perform this and whether they can perform it or not, etc. So, yeah. Not a question. This is from Sir Anthony, but imslp.org is definitely one of the first places you could look for sheet music. Yes, yes,
It
that's
is
true.
really good, yes. I would also recommend looking out for Musica Pilipinas. So Musica Pilipinas is one of the most memorable research institutions in the Philippines for me because I got to work with their Nakpil project. So if you don't know Julio Nakpil, look for his book on Shopee. He has his entire anthology already encoded, resurrected from old manuscript and already been performed. So if you're interested in Filipino music, that's definitely one of the composers to look out for.
All right. So while waiting for our audience to come up with other questions or final questions if they have, I was wondering if you guys, Kat, Denzel, if you have any last words, and before I also say my thank you to you. So now would be the time to say your last words for this event.
Actually, someone asked me a private question in the chat asking about the importance of being able to sight read. And NYU doesn't really conduct tests on your sight reading skills. It's more about what you present in your portfolio. So all you have to do is just submit a video of you playing the piano to the best of your ability. And like I said a while ago, the application just really puts an emphasis on your well-roundedness and your diversity. So you really should just prioritize crafting your narrative and putting an emphasis on how you plan to contribute to that university based on your previous experiences and your perspective.
Yeah, and to add to that, actually, also in my experience, sight reading was never really asked during the auditions. So, how about you, Denzel? Sight reading?
For me, it was theory and oral skills, less so than sight reading. But I remember when I was being interviewed for the accompanying assistantship, they asked me about what my collaborative experience was, what sort of pieces I was playing, who I was performing them with. And when I received the assistantship, they made sure that what my experience was aligns with what I was getting as an assistant. So I was used to accompanying choirs, less instrumentalists. So when I got to Western, I got a heft of a lot of singers, both from classical voice and music theater background, and then I got assigned opera as well.
Yeah, they just the program just wants to make sure that you can do your job at the same time to so that you don't have a horrible experience not being experienced in something and being put on the spot. So that's great. But yeah, in general, sight reading was not. I was never asked to do that. That's great. So, do we have any questions last questions from the audience? I checked YouTube and it looks like wala ring tanong doon. And I would like to take this opportunity then to thank you. Wait, my message. How's Jeremy? Okay, how's
Not
Jollibee?
as good.
There you go.
Not as good. They diluted it a bit because apparently our Jolly Spaghetti is not to everyone's taste, and that's without effort. I've asked a lot of my American friends to try it. It's a hit or miss, mostly miss. So usually when I crave Jollibee, I go for other sibling groups like Popeyes or KFC. Good question though.
Actually, hot take, I think the chicken here is much better. I think it's juicier. I think it's bigger. I think it's different here. It doesn't taste like the regular sweet Filipino spaghetti.
Could be the branch then. Yeah.
Well, I think it changes some taste in every country, in every culture. Like I had KFC in China, in Beijing one time, and it was different. This was some spice that was different. So, all right, well, great questions. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank both of you, Katrina and Denzel, for doing this for NAMCYA. It's such a very informative event, and I've always wanted to do this myself, but I never found the time to actually talk about my own experience. But both of you, your presentations were spot on, and it also brought me to memory lane, down to memory lane, because this is the same thing, and it hasn't changed basically. From the experiences that you mentioned were pretty much the same. So, congratulations on your ongoing educational career. Thank you. And to everyone, this is just a small announcement that NAMCYA um, will post the guidelines to our competitions today. We are almost ready, 99.9% ready with the guidelines, and we hope that you will click on those links and see what you're required to play for this year's competitions. Thank you so much, Kat and Denzel. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.